Well, hello there. This video is for Judy. Happy birthday, sister. This is a recipe junk journal for my sister's birthday. First journal I've made for her birthday. Well, for her at all, I believe. And what this is just a cover, and you can take it off, you can leave it off, you can keep it on, your choice. But here's what the cover looks like. Judy's recipe journal. Here's what the spine looks like. I don't know how well you can see that. Here's what the back looks like. It's an old vintage cookbook, and it has some lace fabric over it. So here's the beginning of the journal. Here's a letter that I wrote to give you a little bit of instruction on how to use it. The front, there's the front. Got a little Elvis paper clip that I created, double-sided. So you have a little, you can see Elvis when you open your book. Here's an envelope with some recipe cards, a little journal card in there. And that says sisters are different flowers from the same garden. Then here we have a conversion, kitchen conversions, cups to ounces, tablespoons, teaspoons. There's a little pocket here with a little paper clip there. Recipe cards, you can fit a bunch in here if you wanted to. Here's another little pocket with a journaling tag, recipe card. Once again, these pockets are pretty generous, so you can put a bunch in there if you want. What you'll see throughout this book is a lot of vintage ads and things like that, which I just got from Google, because this book is not going to be sold. This was a gift. And then we have a journaling page, or photos, whatever you want to do with this page you can do on both sides. It's blank. And now we can talk about this. This is just a little bit of a board, and it's pretty sturdy. Not very flexible, as you can see. I made this from some pattern paper, excuse me, some pretty pattern paper, laminated with some cardstock in between it to make it nice and sturdy, so that when you want to write, if you choose to write on these pages, you have something solid behind the page. Because most of these pages have something on them, and that's going to keep you from writing anything well, because it's just bumpy. So here we have some decoration with a little like a tip-in kind of pocket, and in the pocket there's a little notepad that I made. These things here with the teapots and the cake and stuff, that and this also is from Tsunami Rose journaling kit. I believe the name of it is Tea Party. So you'll see a bunch of that throughout here. Here we have a little pocket with macaroons for recipe cards. Here's more just decorated pages. More Tsunami Rose stuff here. This here is from one of the cookbooks that I used to create this book. There's this was actually the front cover, so what I did was I copied it. I didn't want to take the front cover, the dust cover off. I believe it's the dust cover, so I didn't want to use that. First of all, it's too thick, so I made a copy of it and put it on there. Here's a little tuck spot with with a recipe card that I put a little tab on that I created. A little cupcake paper clip there. Here's a little tuck spot for a recipe card again. Andy Griffith. Everybody loves Andy Griffith. And we do especially. Here's a nice little banner tuck that I created. I think Patricia Viramontes was the one who I saw do these banners from book pages. So just a little tuck spot you can put a recipe card in. Here's a pocket, a full page pocket. Room for plenty of recipe cards in here as well. I put a label on there, so if you wanted to, you can put recipe cards in there and you can name what they are so that if you're looking for something, you don't have to go through all of them. Here's a little Elvis special barbecue sauce recipe. I don't know if you can see that on camera, yes. Okay, and then I put a little bit of humor in here. I tried. It says, I'm on the seafood diet. I see food, then I eat it. And then we have some just plain pages, decorated pages, more Tsunami Rose kit, empty coffee. These are tea dyed pages, actually, stamped, that I stamped myself. More Tsunami Rose kit pages. Here we have a little belly band that I made to tuck in a couple of journaling cards in here. And a recipe card from Tsunami Rose. And then also down here I stuck this little kind of a tuck spot to catch so that these don't, you know, like fall out of the book. They have something to catch them on the bottom. And then just on the center of the signatures I put, this one I stapled, all the rest of them I glued, but just little cutouts that I did from the Cricut. I made tiny little charms to put on the stitching. And we've got another Elvis paper clip, and we've got a bunch of journaling cards, recipe cards. This is a journaling card, but this is actually a copy of one of the pages from a cookbook that we grew up with in our home. That was an easel book that you sat up on the counter, and that's one of the pages from it. Nice little pocket here. Then we've got a recipe over here. There are a few recipes that I threw out that I stuck in there for just because they look like good recipes. This one is chocolate souffle with chocolate sauce and whipped cream. Sounds good to me. And then here's a tiny little pocket, tuck spot, whatever you want to call it, on the side. I put a paper clip up there to kind of hold these in because they're kind of heavy. But here's the chocolate souffle sauce recipe that goes with this. And then these are from an old, I believe it's Better Homes and Gardens, I could be wrong, but cookbook that had tips and things, and this is just like cuts of beef and how to cook them, and then cuts of lamb and how to cook them, which I thought was very interesting and belonged in this book. So there it is. So that's that. Little paper clip there. These paper clips are just some little seam binding that I tea dyed and then cut into pieces and made as a flag for that. Then we've got more journaling pages. You could journal on here as well. Here's a tag that actually has a journaling spot on the back, but it also has room for 2 tags, and these are also journaling spots. And there's one pocket there, and then I don't know if you can see this other pocket, but it's a separate pocket right there to put the tiny little tag in. And there, tea. I try to keep with mostly a tea theme, but there's a lot of other things in here too besides tea. Then we have another one of these envelopes that you can fit large journaling cards in. You can put whatever you want in here. This one is actually a journal spot. That's an old ad that I found, but you can fit a lot in there. And what I did was I created these little tucks for the envelope to go in there so that it's easy to open, you know, easy to put back so that it doesn't open up and empty out your stuff. Here's a little pocket for some journaling cards. Here's a little envelope that I created and just put a little ad on there. Really cute. Nesquik. And then there's a little mason jar in there with a little note on the back for Judy. Here's another full page pocket. It's 2 pages glued together, like the earlier one. Decorated with a label on the top and the bottom, actually. And then we have recipe cards in there. I provided a bunch of recipe cards. You can always put more in there if you want to. You don't have to use them all. Little tuck spot with more humorous ads. And these I made into little tags with journal spots on the back. Little sewing around the edges. Love those. Love those. Okay, here's another little tuck spot with a little envelope in it. Envelope has some journaling cards, shopping lists, things like that. Just cute little things that came in one of the paper packs that I used to put this together. Here's I think it's a recipe for pumpkin cookies. And then on the back we've got chocolate drop cookies and brown sugar drops. Okay. So we've got all those. Another little cupcake paper clip, kind of keep everything in place. This book is so thick that I use a lot of paper clips because I don't want everything falling out of it and you get overwhelmed by it. Here's a little recipe for monkey bread. Really cute. Came out of one of the cookbooks that I used. I made a copy of it because I think the pages were just too thick and kind of a little on the crumbly side. So then we've got a little pocket here that holds a tag, and I made that tag. This is a little tea bag back here behind the teapot. Put some little charms on there with some baker's twine, and you can just keep this in its little pocket. And we've got that here in the little tuck spot. Now this pocket here isn't just a pocket or tuck spot, it's also a flip up. I don't remember the woman's name. I think it's Rita something. I haven't seen her video, but I've seen other people do this, and they always call it a Rita flip or something like that. So I always like to give credit where credit's due, but I don't really know who Rita is, but love the idea. Usually you can use these for like a journaling spot or whatever. People leave them blank or put a little bit of decoration, but I really thought that this was cute and stuck that in there. Glued those down in there. Some more pages for gluing on a recipe or a photograph or whatever you want to do. You can do the same here. You can journal on it. You can write a recipe on there. So many options. There, you can do anything you want with this book. Here's another little journal spot, mason jar. I stuck another little Elvis clip that I made on there. Now these Elvis paper clips that are in here, I made using, I printed out some photos of Elvis from Google or wherever, and then onto cardstock, made a second one, flipped it over so that they're back to back, glued them together, put the paper clip in between before I glued it, and then glossy accents on the top. Then once that's dry, flip it over, glossy accents on the other side, and you have basically, you know, not indestructible, but a pretty cool paper clip there. So 2 little heart charms on that. Another recipe. I think there's probably more than one here, it looks like. There's another little page with donuts from one of the old vintage cookbooks that I use for this. Little journal spot, or whatever you want to do with that. Sisters are joined heart to heart. This is all stamping that I did. This is actually a wood block stamp that I have. More paper clips, little vintage ads, another belly band with a pocket that you can journal on, put something on, whatever you'd like to do with that, and also holds a recipe card. Oh, and Elvis again. So this one's got an Elvis in it, and here we have that another little tuck spot to kind of keep those in place. Because I don't like to make the belly bands too tight. You want to be able to fit some stuff in there. So this way it keeps anything from falling out. Just a little pattern paper page. We've got another journaling spot, or photographs, recipes, whatever you want to put on any of these. Same here. There's a lot of empty space here, so you can put whatever you want there. Here too. This book can never be finished unless you want it to be, so you can add whatever you want to it. Little tuck spot here with another pocket that has a recipe card in it. That just has a little piece of glassine on the back. And a lot of these, I'm just repeating myself because it's the same thing over and over, but this is just a little copy of a page from that recipe book that we grew up with. Here's another belly band, but this one's going vertically and has a few recipe cards inside and a recipe for chocolate cheesecake with raspberry sauce. On some of these I put paper clips just because I don't want this stuff to go anywhere. So none of this stuff has to be permanent. You can take any of it out, you can move it around, you can put it in a different spot, you can take it out, put it in an envelope or a box just to keep so that it doesn't fall out, whatever you choose to do. And here's just a decorated page with an almond praline recipe on it. Here's another tuck spot which I sewed in. Elvis toast. Yeah, I found that on the internet. Thought it was adorable. So I made a little paper clip out of him. We got a couple of little journal cards here with tabs on them. That was fun, putting little tabs on the journal cards. And paper clip to hold that from falling out. Because a lot of these tuck spots, especially if you sew them, if you don't get it really tight, it's not tight enough to hold everything in. So, I just put a paper clip on there. Another little banner, Patricia banner, that I tucked a recipe into. Roast leg of lamb recipe. Cute, adorable little ad on this pocket. It's a full page pocket once again. This one I happened to put some lace around. Lace that this is not actually vintage lace, it's just lace that I had bought, but I probably inked it a little bit to make it look older. And then some recipe cards in here. This is a humorous recipe card. It's not just my life. It's not just chocolate, it's my life. It says, we love chocolate. And little label there, once again. Another little humorous tag journal spot there. A few little things here and there, but a lot of places to write. Glue, put in recipes, put in photographs, whatever you want to do. Or you can just leave it exactly how it is and look at it every once in a while. Another pretty tuck spot. Here's some more little charms that I made from pattern paper on the Cricut, cut them out, glued some baker's twine in between two pieces. And most of this is just, I'll be repeating myself, but little tuck spots and journal pages, tuck spots, another pocket with a little recipe card that has a tab on it, teapot tab, journaling card that I made. I love making copies of old recipe books and old vintage food ads and things like that, and making those into a journal card. That's a lot of fun to me because it's something nostalgic that you know, we don't get to look at that stuff all the time, and it's good to be reminded of those days. We've got another little Elvis, Jailhouse Rock, Patricia Tuck with a tag, not a tag, but this is a pocket that also has a recipe in it, an Elvis recipe. I think it's the Elvis peanut butter sandwich. But here's more journaling, herbs and spices. These are things out of vintage cookbooks, journaling spots, writing spots, whatever you want to call it. Cute little, here's a glued in pocket with some ads in it and journaling, all these journaling tags, decorated. Here's a little lemon herb butter recipe. But here's one envelope. Let me just show you this one envelope. This one's glued in, and then it opens all the way up. So you can, just for a different flavor, that's all. No particular reason. But it folds back up. You got a little tuck spot here for the point of the envelope, and a little paper clip to keep that folding down. Another little belly band there with a stabilizer, pocket here, little tuck spot here for recipes and journal spots, a little bit of stenciling. This is actually stenciling that I did. This little thing is a stamp that I made out of a little foamy, one of those little kid foamies, and then this here, this background, these circles in this background is actually a stencil I made myself, so that's stenciled. And then we've got, this is like a paper bag. This must have been like glue on the paper bag, but just adds character to me. And then a little paper doily that I glued on, folded in the middle. Tuck spots, a little envelope that I made that you can put whatever you want in there. Another good thing that these pockets and envelopes are good for is just like a little receipt or a little maybe something that you see in a magazine that you want to keep. You can just tuck it into one of these envelopes. Here's another little envelope with the spot in there, journaling spot kind of thing. But you can put anything you need in here related to your kitchen or cooking or baking or whatever you want to. Here's more stenciling. This here is actually a stencil that I created that looks like coffee rings or a drink ring kind of thing. But I had seen somebody had some coffee dyed papers that they had made, and they had the rings on them, and I'm like, wow, how did they get that? They probably have to dry it with a mug on it or whatever. And I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to make a stencil, and then this way I don't have to worry about putting mugs on my drying my coffee dyed, tea dyed papers with mugs. Here's another stencil I made, honeycomb. Here. I make a lot of my own stencils because I have a Cricut, and I draw things and then I create it into a digital file, and then upload it to Cricut and make a stencil out of it. I have no need to buy any stencils. Every once in a while I'll buy one if I see one that I just absolutely love and don't think that it would be easy for me to make. Then I'll go ahead and buy it. But for the most part, I just make what I want because it's very, very easy to do. Here's another little tuck spot with a recipe, or not a recipe, gallery of popular greens. There's a lot of good information in these old recipe books, which you don't necessarily see in a lot of new recipe books. So, because I have a lot of recipe books, cookbooks, whatever you want to call them. It's fried green tomato recipe and a little tuck spot. Throughout the book I put a lot of little places where there's washi tape. Excuse me. Just some pretty washi tape for interest. Here I stuck a bunch on this page. Excuse me. Sorry for the cough. I'm not been feeling well for about 4 or 5 days now. But one of the things I notice for myself is sometimes I like perfection and then I have to teach myself to hold back. So one of the things when I was coffee dyeing this paper is it got a little tear in it. Because sometimes when the paper's wet and you pull it up, it'll tear if you're not careful enough. And so I don't like tears in paper because I'm afraid it could tear further. So I put tape on it, but I didn't want it to look kind of silly or, you know, oh, you made a mistake, so you put some tape on it. So I decided to just put washi, and I thought, well, if I'm going to put one, it just looks silly, so let me put another. And then I thought, well, if I put a bunch, it looks very intentional, which I think it does, because it was. So that's a help. I think a lot of people try to create things that are perfect, and when you're putting so many hours into something, the last thing you need is to have to redo things because you made a small mistake. So if you can cover it up or use that mistake to your advantage and create something different with a little more character in it, to me, that's like awesome. I like it better that way. Here too, this might have been the page that had the slit in it and the other one didn't. I think I just did that one on purpose, but not sure. One or the other. One of them I just put the tape on it just for the heck of it, just for the looks. But here we've got more places to write. A little label you can take out, use it for anything else you want to, actually. Little T. I'll put a little T tag on one of the journaling spots. These are a lot of fun to do. But I did a lot of work in this book, so I didn't do a lot of tags that took a ton of time to make. I only probably did less than a dozen, I would say. But here's another full page pocket with recipes, recipe cards. And now we're at the end. Here's a little flip I did in there with, this is some coffee dyed paper that I made myself, using a little technique with the Cricut helping me on that, and hopefully I'm going to get some of these papers onto. This was a 8.5 by 11 sheet of coffee dyed paper, but I just cut it down to the correct size and glued it onto this page. Got a little journaling spot in there, but hopefully I'm going to get some of these coffee dyed papers. They're kind of custom looking, onto an Etsy shop. Hopefully I'll open that real soon. But here's a bunch of ads. These are all chocolate or ice cream on this page, which I love, which Judy loves. Here's some coffee dyed pages using some doilies. And there's the back cover. And Happiness is Licking Spoon. Here's a little recipe on the back. And I've made a little pocket with a little tuck spot that has a... actually, it's an envelope, and it's got a little journaling card in there. And I just put a little bit of Velcro on there to keep that closed. And that's basically it. And I hope that you adore this book. I hope, or at least like it. And like I said, it's not necessary to keep that cover on it. I just used some seam binding with a little bit of lace that I stitched to it for a closure, because who knows how big this book can get. It can get way bigger than it is right now if you want it to. So I love this book. I hope you love this book. And enjoy. And we'll talk to you soon.